What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Power Lunch broadcast. This is Frederick Douglass Bussey, your host, founder of Icon Status. And I'm super excited to have our guest for today. He started a media empire, basically, and then switched gears to start and launch his own clothing brand. Built his business from there, and now he's pivoting again. And he's going to talk to us about a little bit about how he has built that, how he's mastered this path of entrepreneurship, and how you can also do the same. I can't wait to get started. Power Lunch podcast is coming at you right now. So I'm super excited to have our guest for today, none other than Henry Murphy. I've known him for a while now, and it's been really amazing to watch his growth as an entrepreneur and the things that he's been building. Henry, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Power Lunch podcast.
Hey, man, appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me, brother.
Henry scheduled his interview super early because you switched coasts. You used to be on the East Coast, Atlanta, with me, and you are now on the West Coast.
Yes, I'm in LA, man. I'm in LA. So I get up like 5:30 a.m. And so that took a while to adjust to, though, leaving from the East Coast. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
I'm finally kind of like in a rhythm. So I was like, 7 a.m. is perfect. You know what I mean? Like it works for me.
Good stuff. Good stuff. We get it in, we get it out. Let people know a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and I guess what you do now has switched up a little bit, but give people a little bit of background about yourself as an entrepreneur.
All right. Well, so I've been an entrepreneur since like 2000. I like to say 2008 as far as legit starting Z180. I jumped out in 2011 full time, and it's been full time ever since. Z180 came about. It was crazy. I was thinking about this last night. It came about from a conversation in the lunchroom, and we were talking about having a platform for, Christian artists to be on. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, we should create a platform that continuously like have music and media. And man, I went back home with that thought, and we was at a college in Tennessee because back then I was rapping, and I was like, man, that'd be dope to start something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I done been in the industry for a minute. I know a lot of people. Let me see. Man, I went to Best Buy, brought one of those, like the headphones with the little, like the little microphone. Started doing interviews, man, and started putting things together slowly but surely. And so that was kind of like my introduction in it. And it wound up being something big. And it's funny, I was thinking, I was like, in today's world of podcasts, if we would have kept that going, it would have been so crazy because we had like 10,000 subscribers back then. You know what I was like, man, if we would have kept that going, it would have been insane. We had like DJs, you know what I'm saying? So like every day you tuned in, it was a different DJ, you know what I mean? And they had their own show. So it was crazy. And that kind of moved into Rep the King magazine. And it was kind of like a print version of kind of what we did, but it was its own entity. We kind of did the same thing, but we put it in the print version, and we had subscribers. So people would subscribe to it. We would mail it to you, and man, you just get everything in print in front of your face. And it also made me realize how much work it takes for people like Jet Magazine, Ebony, who's been around forever, right? Like I was like, yo, that's a lot of work going into, those type of publications. But it gave me such a respect for publications, man, in a different way. And that kind of moved into Unapologetic, which is the clothing line, basically, which is an expression of my faith as a believer. So Unapologetic, saying just basically like going all in, like no apologies for what we believe in. And that Unapologetic has been amazing, man. Like it's been amazing. It has opened some crazy doors. It's one of those brands we toured with, right? We've been on like 14 different tours, which is amazing all in itself. And then, I pivot, and I guess we'll get into that later on, the pivot to now where I'm at as far as writing a book, and speaking. And I remember, having this conversation with God. I'm like, I don't know anything about, books or speaking or any of that. And he just reminded me everything that I've done as an entrepreneur. I didn't know nothing about any of that. You know what I mean? And just, it lets you know too that with fear try to sit in of the unknown, that's when you got to push harder. You know what I mean? So that kind of brings me to the day, brings us to, while we here in LA. We actually only been out here July the 2nd. We moved out here July the 2nd. So this is fresh.
Brand new, brand new. That's going to be a theme that we kind of talk about. Let's kind of go back to the beginning, right? Where you were born and how you were raised, because you definitely didn't come from this whole entrepreneurship environment per se.
Right.
Tell people a little bit about what it was like growing up as Henry Murphy.
So yeah, I grew up in Savannah, Georgia, and Savannah, Georgia, just to give you, so depends on view from the outside looking in. You're looking at Savannah as this dope historic spot, and it is. It has some dope history there. That's what people come there. You know what I mean? But on the inside, what I'm saying, in the urban community, it's like Chicago. You feel me? Like, so you got this small town it's just crazy, bro. And it's always been like that, right? It's always been like that. And you kind of grow up in it in the middle, and on the outside, the fluff of it, you know what I'm saying? You got these, these visitors coming and spending money. And so you kind of grow up in that. And but I grew up in a tight-knit family. Like both sides of my mother and my father, they grew up in the same neighborhood, which is dope. So my grandma was right around the corner from each other. My aunts and uncles everywhere inside the same hood. And the beautiful thing about it is that it was generation to generation, right? So if it was my generation, my aunties and them knew each other, grandmamas knew each other. So it was super dope. So that part of it was amazing. And I first got introduced into entrepreneurship. I think the first glimpse of it was from my uncle, you know what I'm saying? So he was the oddball out, right? He was the oddball out. He was the one who actually had several businesses, had the ice cream truck, had the restaurant, and had the little nightclub, you know what I mean? And he used to kind of let me go with him, but it was more of a summertime thing, you know what I'm saying? So it was like a summertime thing. You get in, you kind of get a chance to be a part of the whole thing. But other than that, man, it was, I talk about it in the book where when I got to a point in my life with health, right? Just a health situation. But it started from there because my family was so tight knit. All it did was cook, bro. That's how we celebrate mostly as Black people. Anyways, always eating and things of that nature. And it's unhealthy as a mug, you know what I'm saying? Because everything fried. You know what I mean? Like it just was, that part was bad. So I picked up these bad habits. And I kind of took it in, to my adulthood. But I was a regular kid, man. I was a regular kid, you know what I'm saying? Love basketball, love sports, you know what I'm saying? That's how I grew up, you know what I mean? And even in my neighborhood, that's what it was, you know what I'm saying? Like we had this park. Everybody go there. East Savannah Park, that was it. That was the spot. And it was one of them parks I don't know, maybe you see it on a movie where, you got kids playing basketball here, touch football over here, pick them up, bust them up right here. Jokers gambling over here, you know what I'm saying? Kids playing. So it was a regular neighborhood, an amazing neighborhood, you know what I mean? And yeah, that's kind of how I grew up. And I grew up actually kind of infatuated with marketing. I understood the big three when I was younger. Like I understood TV, billboard, and radio. I got it. And I think because places like McDonald's, right? So McDonald's will hit you while you're watching TV, then you jump in the car, it's on the radio, and it's on the billboard. As soon as you come out of the neighborhood, they are placed everywhere, and then they'll be on every corner. And I think I began to notice that when I was younger. I was like, no, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And I was one of the dudes in love with the fillet of fish. You know what I mean? So I remember getting everybody in the hood together. We was 10 years old, Christmas Day. Everybody got their bikes. Yo, we go. You know what I'm saying? We rolled another McDonald's because that doggone fillet of fish. But it was like I understood marketing at that age though, which was crazy. You know what I mean? And I kind of knew it was like, this is something nobody was really, you know what I'm saying? Like that wasn't a conversation people had, you know what I mean? But it was amazing to me, I can't hear you, Doc.
It'd be better if I unmuted my mic. I think it's interesting that you took that interest in marketing at such a young age. Like you kind of understood what was happening, and it's played such a huge part in what you've done and you built so far. But I'm also curious, what were some of the other things maybe that looking back now you see were skills or influences that you actually brought into your entrepreneurship that allowed you to be successful, maybe that you didn't know was really happening or building for you?
Oh, my dad, excuse me, my dad. So my dad made me speak to people. I hated that when I was young. Like, oh my God, bro, I hated it. But it was like, I don't know what he knew, like what he discovered on his journey or what he saw, but
Mhm.
he knew it was important for me to be a people person. He knew that was important.
And
So
what did your dad do for a living?
so my dad was in like wastewater management, right? Like, basically, controlling the CO2, things of that nature. So he really wasn't with people. You feel me? That's what's weird about it. He was you're kind of a loner in that type of situation. So
Mhm.
like, you're talking about like the sewage plants and you kind of making sure the water is right. So by the time it get to us, you feel what I'm saying? Like it's decent. So that's what he did, right? And so but when we were out, when we would go places, he made me speak to people. Like he made me hold conversations. And it's crazy because I think about him all the time because of that. Because like here, I'm in a new environment, a new building. I'm speaking to everybody. And I'm speaking to everybody, even when they don't speak back, because that's how he raised me. He raised me to have genuine conversations. You feel what I'm saying? And that kind of prepared me. And so when I got into restaurant management, which I just did it on the reel yesterday. I told people how I hated it. Right? I loved cooking and I love people, but I kind of hated going into other people's systems.
Mhm.
But that's what actually gave me everything I needed for my business. You feel me? Like, but I didn't get the lesson as I was going through it. It's one of those hindsight type things. You know what I'm saying? Because like I tell people, I was like, look, but now, bro, make sure you're faithful in somebody else's business. You feel me? Like, biblical principle, and it's just a great principle in general. Be faithful in somebody else's business simply because you want the same thing reciprocated in your business. You do. You know what I'm saying? Somebody come in your business, you want them to be faithful. You feel me? And so that was one thing too, man. It was once I got into that management system and I'm learning how to manage people and I'm learning systems, that people person skill, it blew me up as a manager. You feel what I'm saying? Because I knew how to talk to customers. I knew how to talk to my people. I was a people person. So people would work for me basically because I was a great people person. I cared about them. You know what I mean? So like, if I knew you, I knew your family. I knew what was going on in your life. And also, what I had to learn was how to kind of separate it with working that. But once I got that balance, it was crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, okay, I know how to build a team. You know, I know how to build a team from that. You know what I mean? So I like to go back and talk about my mistakes, right? It's like, look, take the good, you know what I'm saying? Take what I'm giving you as good, the valuable lessons I learned. But this is what I did wrong because I believe in that transparency because without that transparency, nobody can grow. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, you don't have to go through this. If you get this part, you know what I'm saying? If you learn how to serve faithful, you're going to pick up things. You know what I'm saying? People are going to let you into things, you know what I mean? Just because you're serving faithfully, you know what I'm saying? And some people are like, oh yeah, but I feel like they're using me. But look what you're getting. Look at the that you are getting. Look what you are learning. You won't get that nowhere else. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that was. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, I mean that's really powerful. I thought at times we don't realize the things that our parents are teaching us, small skills, right? And nowadays in corporate, we call them soft skills, people skills, right? And they're the things that they don't really teach you in school, but they're the most important things when it comes to growing your network, leading a team, building a business, things like that. And I think it's really, really cool that your dad was focused on that. And maybe he wasn't even aware. He just knew that, hey, this is something that my son needs to be able to do. And he poured that into you. And now it's become like such a powerful thing. Now, I also, you mentioned before that before you started the media company, you were interested in hip hop, right? How did that come about? And what was it that kind of led you away from that into more of, I would say, behind the scenes versus being on the stage sort of idea?
So I always got to go back, right? I always have to go back because I remember a summer and really being first kind of introduced. It was this guy came from New York, man, and he was at the park, and he had, that was back then when the Jeeps was popular, right? And he had that Rakim playing. I ain't no Joe. I used to let the mic smoke, but it was, it was like, it was. Yo, now of course we was already kind of peering in on TV a little bit, but it was like, you know, it was this thing happening from New York that was distributing throughout the world organically. You feel me? Like, and I became infused with this. This become a part of my life. Who I am is simply it's kind of how unapologetic is, why unapologetic is the way it is. You feel what I'm saying? It's the reason why I still wear, you know, I've always been, I wear J's over the suits, and probably because, you know, my dad used to make me make suits when I was young. I was like, I vow I'd never wear suits again. But anyway, that's a whole nother discussion, right? But that's kind of what happened with me, man. Like it became a part of who I am and who I was. And back then, man, I put out a CD, and it used to do very well. It was dangerous because, you know what I'm saying, I was back when I was kind of out in there in the streets or whatever like that. And I'm glad God didn't let that actually catapult and blow, right? So anyway, as I become a believer, I didn't even know it was anything out there. You know what I'm saying? I just didn't. You know, my wife was saved before I was, maybe 3 years. And so I think I heard like Lisa McClendon, Kirk Franklin, things of that nature. But the first person I heard was Truth, right? And me and him are still good friends to this day. But I remember, bro, the first time I heard Truth, I was like, yo, who is this? Because when I kind of stepped out was when I was like, okay, I can't listen to like what I grew up anymore. I'm trying to change my mindset. It was kind of like, I think Kanye West was dropping College Dropout. Like that was during that time, right? So and I was like, man, I don't have nothing to listen to, nothing I grew up on, nothing that kind of like identified with me. And so that's when kind of Truth flamed. I'm like, oh, hold on, we got something here. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's kind of what happened. And I just got infused in it. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, man, maybe I can start rapping again. You know what I'm saying? And kind of that's what I did. And it was funny. It was like God would allow me to do it. But every time it was time to drop a CD and sell a CD, it was like, God, it was like I would feel like God was pushing me to like give it away. It was weird, right? And I'm like, this is weird. Like this may be okay, maybe I'm off, you know what I'm saying? Because this is not business. This don't even make sense. You know, I poured money in the studio time, creativity. You understand what I'm saying? It just doesn't make sense. And then I dropped the first album, and then I dropped the next album, Pilgrim Perspective. Same thing again. And what's crazy is, you know, it's funny, you don't realize when you're an artist, you're already doing business, right? You're already doing things. You're moving in a business manner. And I invite Jason. We had a dope release party. We had it in Atlanta. And he said, bro, I believe God is calling you to business and not music. And I was like, it was a hard conversation for me, bro. Very, very hard conversation. Like, I just didn't want to hear it. And it's funny, my wife been telling me that for like a year. And of course, coming from the spouse, so you're like, man, you just do this music, you know what I'm saying? But man, it was a hard conversation that I had to kind of really wrestle with myself with. And that's what I did. And, you know, it was funny that when I was in Tennessee at that college and we was talking, they be there to rap. You feel me? Like, and what you have to realize there, it was kind of like these guys on the board were theologians. They didn't want rapping in school, but because of how the rap was delivered, they were inspired. You know what I'm saying? They were inspired. And then that conversation was like, okay, this is needed. Like, we need to get this out to the world. You know what I mean? And so anyway, that's kind of like how that, you know, happened in my life. You know what I mean? That's how I became a part of who I am. And it's kind of like why even in marketing, I use the music. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna use it in some type of way. You're going to see it because it's a part of who I am. It's like it's etched in my DNA. I cannot escape it, you know? And so even, you know, because we pause it in the reline, so even like teas like this, it's like, it's more casual. I'm getting older, so it's kind of like, I might not want to wear a t-shirt, but let me wear something like a cut is so, you know what I mean? So if I wanted to throw in some Kohans or something with it, and it still be like look nice, but it's still a part of who I am. I didn't lose my essence. You feel what I'm saying? So it's crazy, just the things that I'm wrestling with in this season of pivoting. You know what I mean? And when we come back around, some of the things we're going to do.
You mentioned the conversation and that your wife had also been kind of pushing you into business. What was it that you're looking back now, maybe you say that you could see that she saw in you, and maybe that you had, because there are people who talk about, well, entrepreneurs are naturally born. There's certain types of people, whatever. I believe that anyone can learn to grow a business and build a business.
Mm-hmm.
But there are certain people that have certain instincts, right? That are more naturally geared towards being successful in business, whereas other people, it may be more of a struggle. Looking back now, what do you think some of those things were that were maybe invisible to you, but were more evident to those who knew you or could kind of see where your talent and your gift really lied?
I think, man, if I think so, I am I like creative and a visionary, right? Which means that I can create something, but I can also see the end of it before I get started. So, like, I might tell you, hey, I'm going to do this. Like, so with the magazine, I might be like, yo, I'm going to do this magazine. And I can tell you how this magazine is going to look before I even get started. And I think I was able to do that, like, all of my life. I think what my wife struggled with was, what are you passionate about, right? Like, not just, hey, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. What are you passionate about? Because I think she's seen it, because I got to a point when I did get serious about management. That's a whole different story, all the ups and downs with that, because that part, I think, made her skeptical, because, she knew that I had potential, but she knew it. Sometimes I was just chasing after the wind, right? Like, what do you really want to do? Because she seen me when I got to the point where I would run a store, and I was running $1 million store, and they would ask me to run more stores and go into stores. So she's seen the potential, and other people would see the potential. I just didn't see the potential in myself at first. And I think it's because I kind of wanted to do what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? But I'll never forget, my daughter getting ready to go to college. You know what I'm saying? One daughter in high school, son in middle school. And I was like, yo, I'm going to start Z180. You know what I mean? And it was funny because I was like, my wife ain't going to never go for this. You feel me? Like, I Z180 was making $250 a month. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to leave a $50,000 job, talk about, you know what I'm saying? $250 a month. And she believed in me, man. Like, she believed in me. And she was like, I believe that God calling you to do this. And it's crazy because it's surpassed my income maybe like 8 months later, and then began to grow from there. And it's crazy because, like, her believing in me means everything. You feel what I'm saying? Like, it means everything. It's encouraging, and it causes me to kind of keep going. You know what I mean? So, like, now, I'm running it past her. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I want to do a book. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm about to go do the research. I'm about to go do this. And she, it's funny, man. When I talk about the sweatshop,
mm-hmm.
like, when she seen me talking to them college kids that day, and she seen me interested, she helps me gather the facts, right? What's the facts? What is everything we need to know to make this successful? And it's honestly one of the first trades that I learned in and out, right? Like, about printing and things of that nature. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I learned that mug in and out, you know what I'm saying, before I got started. And that was because of her help, because of the way she's wired. You feel me? Like,
Mm-hmm.
me and her are wired, totally different. You know what I'm saying? I am that entrepreneur, visionary, boom, faith, we gone. You know what I'm saying? Whether we got the money or not, we gonna figure this mug out. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna put the pieces in place to make it work. She's, you know what I'm saying? So she's gonna, okay, let's look at it like this here. And then together, it's powerful. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because now she's learning to be that unstructured person with her structure. Bro, she's gonna be amazing. Like, she's gonna be crazy. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah.
You started the media company. You started doing interviews, and you're building these relationships. At the time that you were doing it, Christian hip hop was in a very different place, right? So we both have backgrounds in the music industry, and you understand that there's different niches, there's different subgenres or whatever. And Christian hip hop was a subgenre of gospel music. But it's growing. It's becoming more and more influential. And I dare say you had a lot to do with that by being one of the platforms, one of the major platforms where artists could get their music out. So this is growing. But you also decided to start doing something else with the unapologetic merch, right? Which
Mm.
actually you started going to a whole new level. Can you talk about that pivot there and why, how that came about and kind of that process, the thought process of I'm going to stop doing this or I'm going to transition to doing this over here. It's in the same kind of element, but it's a completely different business, really.
It is. It is. Oh man, you know what's funny? I probably need to even give more thought to like what happened during that time. But I'll say this.
And
Uh,
how long had you been running the media company
by the
before
time
you?
I met
Yeah.
2000, about 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
About 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
And man, I don't know if I have a like a definite answer to say. I just knew it was time to pivot, right? Kind of unlike this time. Like this time, and it wasn't even like money was drying up or anything. It was kind of like I knew it was time for a change, right? Like I knew it was time for a change. I didn't know why. I didn't totally understand it. I just knew it was. And I read this book called The One Thing. It was kind of like focusing on one main thing. And that book bothered me, bro. It bothered me, right? Because I've always been a multitasker. I've always been a juggler. And this thing is telling me like I need to focus on one thing. It was weird for me. It was a weird spot, you know. Z180 was doing well. Rep the King, you know, we started Rep the King mag with $0, bro. Like with $0. Derek Minor was the first person on the cover. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, you know, if you go back and look at bro, it was just crazy. Like that whole thing was crazy. So it was almost shocking to people when I was like, yo, I'm about to get rid of Z180 and Rep the King mag and start this here. Huh? What? That sounds insane. You know what I'm saying? Like it sounded insane. But I knew it was the move to make. That's all. And so I got started. So got the logo, and it's funny. I hated this logo, bro. Like
Really?
I hated the logo. Like I ain't gonna say hated it. I was just on the fence. I had like the unapologetic script more than the you. I was like, you know, and it would you know, it's funny when I look back, I was like, I didn't understand the power and significance of that brand. I didn't know as much about branding as I thought I did. That's what made me go back and look at myself and was like, boy, I missed this whole thing. You feel what I'm saying? Because
No.
if I would have started with that U logo off top, I think it would have been a different impact. And I what I mean by different impact, I meant maybe millions of dollars, honestly. You feel me? Because I might have wrote with that script for about 2 or 3 years. You feel me? And so like I had to, it's not that it wasn't relevant, it was you seeing the script more than anything. Instead of that brand in your face, that you every single time. And you know, now you know, ain't nothing we got, you won't see that you now. But you know, I look back at that. And so anyway, man, we begin to pivot, and this was crazy, bro. A lot of people don't even know this. I don't even know if I put this in a book. But when I was getting ready to launch the brand, I felt like God was saying, kill unapologetic before I even got started. I was like, what the heck? Like, this doesn't make sense. Again, there's always these pivots that doesn't make any sense, right? And so I did, bro. I had like these designs, you know, we was doing models. I didn't even really know what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? I just was like, I think this is how it's supposed to look. You know what I'm saying? I'm a no rules person. So it doesn't matter what everybody else doing. I'm gonna do it my way. You know what I'm saying? Like I take the good, I take like what works. I don't ignore those, but I still kind of do it my way. And so we was doing that. We had the weirdos line, and people was like, "Yeah, you shouldn't do, weirdos. That doesn't make any sense." I'm like, "Yo, we got scripture for this." Like, no, I want to do the weirdos. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what this is. We're peculiar. You know what I'm saying? And bro, that weirdos line went crazy, right? And 2014. About 2013, I killed it. You know what I'm saying? So as soon as it gets started, I kind of kill it. And at the same time, I am getting prepared to close Z180 and Rep the King. Like, you know, like I think I was in this middle of like, okay, how do I even do this? 2014, God sparks. I get with Nehemiah. and he said, "Hey, bro, I'm doing this tour. You know what I'm saying? Let me know if you want to get some vendor spots on this tour." And bro, once I did that, I was gone, bro. I was on the road for like 6 years straight. Like I was in front of people like nonstop, like nonstop, bro. Like I was no about 5 years straight. I did that from like 2014, 2019, like nonstop. You know what I'm saying? Like nonstop. And so, I mean, we were on every tour. I don't care who was. You know what I'm saying? It was Andy the Great, Trip Lee, Social Club, Poets and Autumn. And then, you know, moved on over to Jonathan, and, you know, the Jonathan McReynolds joint opened up, you know, us doing merch for Kurt. Everything just went, you know what I'm saying? And by that time, I got rid of those. And Doc Watson really was the one was like, hey, you know, you built something. You need to sell these. You feel what I'm saying? And the funny thing is, nobody really could have paid me what it was worth. You know what I'm saying? Like what we built it to. But I still wanted to keep going on. You know what I'm saying? Like I wanted to keep going on. So
say a little bit more about that. Like, people couldn't pay you to build because you were doing. I mean, you're on the road. You got these vendors. You're on these tours, but you're making good money. People don't realize that as artists are touring, one of the key pieces to their revenue is merch. And the fact that you were a vendor, your business was there in front of people selling them this merch. What were you making? What was that revenue like? And why do you say that people couldn't really have paid you to build it to what it was worth?
Oh, no. When I was talking about that, I was talking about Z180 and Rep the King Mag.
Okay.
To buy those entities. Oh, no, yeah, on the road, oh, man, it was crazy. Like, you know, so, you know, back then, man, you talking about 1,500 at the minimum per night. You know what I'm saying? And you know, so you might do 9 on the week, you know what I'm saying? And so, that was 2014. You know what I'm saying? That's merch, bro. Like that's merch. You know what I'm saying? Like that's right there. You ain't waiting on nothing. You get that money that night. You know what I mean? And then, but that caused online sales to happen. You feel me? You got to think. I wasn't really. I had the online store, but I wasn't really thinking about it. So what it would be is when I came in town, that's when I kind of be like, okay, how many orders we got? Put it out. Then it started clicking. It's like, oh, I need to have something to where after I meet them, they go here. Or I started recognizing, you start recognizing opportunities, right? Even for the people who don't stop by that merch table, I got somebody handing them a card as they go out the door. So if you're not even coming, you getting interactive with it. You come in that building, you get the card, and you leaving with something. You know, like you leaving with something. But it's crazy, bro, because even during that time, there were times where the merch game is good and it's tricky because you have to find balance. You have to understand cost of sales. Cost of sales is it's one of the, my bad, brother. Cost of sales is one of the biggest things, man. Like understanding how much your garment costs, right? Understand how much you're going to sell it for, and understanding all the things to run your business are within that cost of sales. And if you don't understand that, you know, your trademark lawyer fees, your CPA, your the material for what you're doing, all of that stuff is in there, your salary, all of that is in your cost of sales. And you have to understand that. That took me a while to understand. This is the reason why I'm taking my time building my program out. You know what I'm saying? Because like when somebody sits down to if they buy into kind of what I'm talking about, then I'm going to give them the real. You know what I'm saying? One thing about it is I'm not going to tell you how fast you can scale because that's dangerous, right? Like, you know, people are selling scale. Yeah, man, you can scale up to. Bro, listen, you don't want that. You don't want that because it comes with such a frustration. You understand what I'm saying? It comes with such a frustration that you don't have to have. Slow and steady. Learn. I'm here now. How do I do this? You understand what I'm saying? Like, you know, people love to say, yeah, man, we jumped up from thing to $1 million. But they don't like to tell you what happened in between the turmoil that happened between you jumping up to $1 million. Bro, it's like it's turmoil in the middle of that, right? How do I navigate those waters? And I grow steady and take care of the customers that actually support. And you understand what I'm saying? Like really building the system out. So like when I get into that part, when I start to do my courses, bro, my pitch is gonna be crazy. They're gonna be like, this joker done lost his mind. But I'm like, yo, if you're not willing to come in here and kind of learn, don't even, you can cut this off right now. Like I don't even come in, and it's not an arrogance. It's more so of I done been here for a minute. I see how this go. You don't want to do it like that. You don't want to just scale up like that. You know what I'm saying? Because then you can actually lose the love of what you're doing. You don't want the love of it. You feel what I'm saying? You want to be around. You can actually be around, like, especially the way it's built now with e-commerce, bro. Like you can be around 20, 30 plus years on a brand. You know what I'm saying? You would be doing a couple of $1 million a year. Nobody never know. Because you don't have to be popular. It's basically about connecting with your customers, getting repeat customers, and building it organically, understanding the business, growing the business, having different levels of the people that are buying from you. You feel what I'm saying? Like, that's it. If we go to the grocery store, we see it all of the time, bro. Every time you go to the grocery store, bro, it's going to be a different level of products. Whatever that product is, you're going to have a higher product, and it's going to keep going down. You feel what I'm saying? No matter where you go at. And so you do the same thing with your brand. You have different products. You understand what I'm saying? Because you're going to appeal to different people. You know what I mean? Yeah, my bad. I ain't mean to get off, man.
No. I mean, first of all, I think it's great information because, and that's why I love having you on here, because you've built a business on so many different levels, but I love the practicality of it. And one of the reasons why I like working with what I call real world entrepreneurs and not just people who sell digital products or coaches and things like that of that nature is because a lot of people don't understand that there's a lot that goes into a business, but there's a lot of potential if you learn how to do it right, and most people are doing it wrong because they're not willing to do like what you said, slow and steady learn, right? There's ego involved. I want to be able to prove that I've built this huge thing and I can brag about it or I can feel better about who I am. And to me, what's fascinating about your journey is that you didn't start out with the idea of building anything in particular. It was like, I just feel like I need to do this. I have this vision for what it should be, and I'm just going to go do it. And now you have learned all the skills and things of that nature. You talked about the turmoil, right? And we talked about the pivot because you were on the road, you were going to online. That was in and of itself a different transition within the same business, but it was almost like a different business because you built a brick and mortar store. You had the online thing going as well as the print shop. Talk a little bit about building that out. And I love how we kind of built it because you had the team building skills. Obviously, you had the networking skills and people skills, but now you got to take those and put them in a different sort of space. What was that like for you?
It was interesting. It was interesting. It was fun though, bro. Like it was fun. I'll never forget. I had got kind of comfortable at the house, right? Comfortability can be dangerous, right? So, I had this spot where I'm kind of like, I'm at the house, we shipping, it's good, you know what I mean? And I remember my homeboy, Sherrod, came by. He was like, yo, it's this office right over by your spot. Man, I think it'll be dope for you. You know what I mean? I was like, man, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, I'm cool like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, Buddy Floyd did, we tooling. I don't know, man. I don't know if we need to do that. Man, I get over to this office and I'm like, oh, I need this. Like, I know I need this, right? It gets me out of the house. It gets me out of this comfortability state. Go back home. I said, wow. I was like, yo, we need to jump this office. Bro, I jumped the office and man, I'm talking about 3 months later, it sales just like doubled, right? I think one, because I was out of the house, I was in a different environment. It sparked something. It was crazy, bro. Like I can't even explain it. So that one office turned into two. Two offices turned into three. Man, by the time we got left out that Remax building, man, I think we had like 6 offices in there. We had like 6 offices in there. And bro, we was getting all of the joints, you know what I'm saying? Like we was getting all, because we was using them for different types of stuff, bro. Everything was just popping. The sweatshop was popping. That was popping. You know what I'm saying? Like we had everything. And it was crazy. That's when we kind of moved into the first compound. And by the time we moved it back, but by then, we were already building like the stuff in there. I had turned one of them offices into a little store. Like it was like this little store. Like, you know what I'm saying? That you come in there and buy t-shirts if you wanted to, you know what I'm saying? I was like, space already here. Might as well use it. You know what I mean? And we had this little grand opening and I think we did about $4,000 on the little grand opening, bro. It wasn't even that many people there, bro, that came through. But we fed them. We did a cookout. You feel what I'm saying? Like, it was just dope. It was an interaction. So people who knew us, it was friends and family. It was fire. And so that grew into the other compound. And by the time we got to the other compound, okay, now we in the 2,500 square foot. Everything is in one spot. I think you came over to that spot. And so that spot kind of had like a little storefront. We had the conference room. We wound up building the podcast room in there. We had the office, and we had the back that held everything. So what we and that's where kind of like we started doing the sweatshop at, as far as the sweatshop university, as when we started teaching people. So first time I'm sitting down, I'm writing the curriculum. What? It was like, hey, okay, I know how to do this. How do I put this on paper? And I began to put this mug on paper. And I'm like, man, and I'm doubting myself, right? Because the reason why I'm doubting myself is, for all kind of stuff, like, I want to get my GED. So you start thinking of education, right? It's like, man, I ain't got no education in this thing. But I was like, this is practical. Like, I'm practical. I can write this mug out and I can teach somebody, right? And so I kind of had to talk to myself, man. And bro, I wound up teaching that to Demetrius, Channing, and Marvin. We had 3 instructors, bro. Like, we really ran this mug like like this mug was a machine. But we had people coming from everywhere. You know what I'm saying? New York, Baltimore, Houston, Chicago, Cali. Like, bro, when I say people were coming from everywhere to take this mug, and it made me realize, and I kind of had to slow myself down. I was like, oh, but we could put these joints in every city. Like, this is crazy, right? But honestly, it still can't be done because it's a need there. The reason being is nobody was doing it. Or I could have like really started an ambassador program, you know what I'm saying? And train people, send them out to their cities to do the same thing and take a cut. You know what I mean? Like, so, they, maybe we supply them with the equipment, they pay us back. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I didn't go that far in it, but I realized like, okay, we got something. 2020, students still was coming in the height of COVID. People still was coming. We just masked up with Lysol and sanitizer. But we was teaching them skills. And the reason why it worked, bro, too, people wanted to know how to make extra income. How do I do that? Man, I always wanted to do t-shirts. How do I do it myself? Well, this is how you do it yourself. This is how you start. You feel what I'm saying? So if you were built for that, if you have the time, then look, let me show you how to do it. Let me show you what machine to get. Do not get this machine. Like, bro, so many people I told, look, do not get this machine. The reason being, you're not going to have quality and the machine won't break. It's not a good machine. You know what I'm saying? You need to spend at least this amount. So which was about $750, $800. And you need to go with this company. And the reason being is because you're getting a quality product. You got to understand what you're buying into. You feel what I'm saying? Like, for instance, I'm not going to get into the Apple Mac to anything else, but a Mac going to last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna last 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, it might not last as long, not because of the way technology is moving as fast, but it's not because of how the Mac is built. It's just because of technology. You feel me? And so that's what I'm telling them. Like, look, this is the machine to get. And so even when I wrote that curriculum, you got to get started packing, which means that I'm gonna tell you where to get your resale license from. I'm gonna tell you which trademark attorney to use. I'm gonna tell you where to get your garment. So the stuff that you love, like New Era, Champion, all of that, I'm gonna tell you how to get all of that. What you see somebody else wearing, this is how you get that wholesale. And so we just kind of put that package together. And it was amazing, bro. Like, it was amazing. I still look at the commercial. That commercial, man, I think that commercial had like 130,000 views or something insane. Like, that's what we was booking off that commercial. We shot a professional commercial, bro, and it was crazy. And so when you came, we had the popcorn machine. You got popcorn machine. We had the Coca-Cola machine. You got your snacks. Like, we took care of you when you came. And we actually gave you a God Bless the Entrepreneur tea, coffee cup. Like, we just made you feel welcome. You walked away with books it was the kind that you could feel the material. So, I would have the company send me all of that. So you walked out with a packet, like, for real, for real. You know what I'm saying? You left feeling legit. You could have stayed, Q&A. And then I got to the point to where by the time we got to the big compound, I would stop in. And I would stop in and then let them ask me questions. Because, again, the program came from me. So it's certain you're going to always leave out or have, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to be there for those questions. So I go there, bro. They just have questions. And it was just a dope time. It was a dope experience. You know what I'm saying? We got so many testimonies from that stuff, man. Like, it's crazy.
you've helped people build their businesses and just using that practical advice. I remember when you know were launching that whole aspect of it, and what's really cool to me is that because you have a lot of people that are in the coaching space now, they're teaching, and that they haven't actually built something at the level that you built it, right? They
Mhm.
haven't actually gone through, and what I'm seeing now is that they'll learn to sell something for a month or a couple of months, and then they want to turn around and teach other people how to do it. And you've had multiple iterations of it, right? I want to ask you about this though, because one of the things I love about what you did with Unapologetic, and you did this in social media, you were creating the marketing, right? So you shot commercials, videos, this whole social media campaigns, everything, but you were showing the behind the scenes of what you were doing. So it was almost like a marketing about the marketing, right?
Yeah.
What was it about that? What were some of the lessons that you learned about really promoting your brand and promoting your business that other people, you don't see them either doing that or understand or having an understanding about it, that really allowed you to kind of catapult your brand even further?
Man, it was, it's funny. It like my main thing was always consistency, right? Like,
Mm.
how do I stay consistent no matter what? How do
Mhm.
I post every day? Unapologetic clothes, I still post on unapologetic every single day because we got so much content. Like, we have so much content. And that was my thing. It was like, how do we just have content? Like, how do we keep creating content, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I talk about it in the book that it was a good thing and it was a bad thing. Cause bro, listen, I needed somebody to tell me, boy, you need a budget, right? Because all that do, bro, I was scheduled three photo shoots in a week.
Mm. Uh-oh.
We good?
Yeah, we're good. We're back.
If you was a part of my content team, you were eating because we shot so much content. But
Mhm.
I believed in bringing people in to the whole process of what we were doing. You know what I mean? And so I think, bro, I don't know if I would say in the last 12 years, it's maybe unless something was going on, it's not too many days I didn't post on social media, as far
Mhm.
as especially like Facebook. You feel what I'm saying? Like especially like Facebook. Everything else kind of grew out too, right, as we went. But especially like Facebook. I actually had to go back to Twitter because I'm like, well, I got like 40,000 people on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I need to.
Wow.
And it's been that way since, or at least, hold on, not 40. I take it back. About 22 something thousand. But no, it's 40 altogether because I got 20 something on my personal and 20 something on unapologetic. So
Mm.
yeah, so that's why I say 40. But I was like, dang, we built these a long time ago. You understand what I'm saying? Like we built these a long time ago, but it was because of that consistency, right? The
Mhm.
consistency of constantly putting out what is going on, what was happening. So it was happening so quickly, right? And honestly, the reason why it'll still work for us because we got so much organic content. Even though like I was a firm believer in polished content,
Mhm.
we got so much organic content because of that. Everything we got is behind the scenes. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, in my phone, I think I probably got 5,000 videos. That's not
Wow.
including like Dropbox. I just got like 5,000 videos of like organic content. You feel me? And I
Mhm.
was like, yo, we got, man, I'll say this, 10,000 plus pictures, 15,000 like pictures
Wow.
over the years. You feel me? Like just
Wow.
it just piled up because it was just content. I love content. I believed in it. It levels the platform, right? So I was
Mhm.
like, okay, I might can't I might can't compete with whoever on like a major type thing, but I could be more consistent than they can, right?
Mm.
I can be more consistent than they can. So that was my whole thing. Let me be consistent, right? Let me be consistent. And so that was my whole thing, bro. It was just the whole thing of being consistent, letting people know what I was doing. And it's funny, memories let me know how much I was posting. Bro, it came up the other day. It was in Messenger, but I was posting like 12 times a day in Messenger. I was like, God, no. I was like,
Wow.
ooh, you feel me? But now
Mhm.
the algorithms are so different. Like one time actually gets you better than 12 times. You feel me?
Mhm.
That one time you're gonna get way more people watch one thing. So now I might just post one thing a day. on stories or something like that, and I get more engagement from that because of how the algorithms and stuff change. But I could post something totally different every day for the next 15 years. You feel me? So that's kind of how I look at it. I was like, it's still a win. You know what I'm saying? You still got that content. You own it. It's yours. If you be consistent, you're going to have content. And it's funny. I had to start applying that to like every part of my life. Okay, I know how to be consistent over here. How do I be consistent in this? How do I be consistent in that? You feel me? So that's kind of like, you know, it's everything, bro. It's the recipe, honestly. It's the recipe. If you can get consistency, there's nothing you can't do. You know what I'm saying? Because inconsistency, you learn through consistency. You feel me? But you got to be consistent to learn. If you keep cutting it off, or you keep stopping, then you will never learn. You'll never get it. And in this quick world, and they teaching you do everything fast. It's just it's a people disaster. That's why you don't see these people 6 months later, a year later, 2 years later. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, 2 years is not enough. And it's funny you say that about coaching. It kind of like it makes me feel a certain way, but I'm like, man, that's not my battle. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, bro, you can't be an expert after 2 years. What do you fail at? I don't see your failures. If you don't see your failures, then I don't know what to do when I fail, because I'm going to fail at some point. Something is going to happen. When you even look at the Gucci story, right? You know what I'm saying? Or anybody's story. See, Amazon, I don't care who it is, it was failure that took place. And if it's failure that took place, how did they rise above the failure? If you were telling me about everything you did, oh yeah, we skyrocketed. Okay. In this day and time with e-commerce, anybody can skyrocket. What do you do when them joints start going back down like that? Like what are those principles? You feel me? Like, where are you at with that? And so that's my problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my problem. Like, so I'm like, you know what? Whenever I get done with this course, it's going to be a course that constantly adds value, because I'm constantly learning, right? So, you know, I had to start thinking through my coaching calls, right? If you sitting down with me with 30 minutes, my thing is, how do I give you $10,000 worth of value in 30 minutes? How? That's why my form is so in depth, because I want to know if I can help you off top. And if I can't help you, then there's no sense of us getting on the phone. But if so, then you're going to have to do several 30-minute calls with me. But once you get this set of things, this agenda to do, then, okay, you do this, it's going to get you here, right? Here might produce, it's going to produce some income for you, but it's going to come with its own challenges. Now let's go to here. You feel what I'm saying? And so, you know, that's how it works, bro. Like, and people got to understand that it's consistency. Business is consistency. That's why, like, what I do is for the aspiring entrepreneur, because that's what I was. You know what I'm saying? It's for the entrepreneur, but it's for the aspiring entrepreneur, the ones who are still working, who actually want to become a full-time entrepreneur, because that's my story. You feel me? Like, I had 3 kids and a wife and jumped out there. So for me, I'm talking a lot to these people that are like, yo, this can happen. You can do this. You feel me? Like, you can really do this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Find something you love and go hard at it. You know what I'm saying? Go hard at it. But you can take your time. Time is on your side. Like, you could do it as long as you're consistent, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the recipe.
And that consistency led you here, where now you're making another pivot. You know, you kind of preface it talking about, you know, the courses that you're going to be offering and that you're building now. But talk about the transition to the next thing, what that looks like with the book and with the speaking, and what was it that led you to say, I'm gonna shed this other identity, or this other track that I've been on for so long, you know, and I'm gonna step out again, you know, because as we get older, right, that's harder and harder to do.
Yes,
it's harder and harder to do. So what does that look like for you and this journey that you're taking this next chapter into?
So I come to the end of 2019, and I feel like God's telling me to give value away. I want to say that's where it kind of started. And so I was like, okay, I need to start this podcast. So I started the podcast, and I was like, no, I'm just going to give value on the podcast, right? Topics, things that come to me. And I'm going to do it under 20 minutes. The reason I'm doing it under 20 minutes, because that's the way I learn. After 20 minutes, I tap out. It's just kind of the way I am. So if it's something that's longer, I might have to come for 20 minutes, get it, meditate on it, come back to it. You feel what I'm saying? That's how I have to do. So I even break my books down into chapters. Unless it was kind of like that Will Smith book that took me on this journey. And I consumed that book so doggone quick. But anyway, that doesn't always happen to me. And so I was like, you know what? It's like anything else. People got to realize too with niches, it's like there's a niche that they learn in 20 minutes or less also. And that's what I'm after. I'm not after everybody else. I'm after that niche that learns like I do. And they got 20 minutes to listen. You feel me? And then and take it away. Because I tell them too, look, stop listening to my podcast if you're not using none of this stuff. Because like, don't get all this value and then you didn't do none of this stuff before. Some of this stuff would have been a kickstart your business. So anyway, started doing the podcast because what happened was this, bro. I'm totally transparent on the podcast. I got to 2019, and I think we might have did like $450,000 or something like that. And I was like, "Where is this money?" Right? I was like, "Where is this money? I see it, but where is it?" And so that's when this need for financial literacy began to be like, "Oh, I know how to make money, but I ain't learned how to keep money." You understand what I'm saying? And I was like, dang, I'm in the top 1%. Where is this money at? This business, is, everything around me is thriving. It's doing well, right? But where is this money? Like, because it, and this is a thing too, and never ashamed to say it because, like, people got to understand this. Like, I built my business on cash, so it wasn't like this is no credit. Didn't have credit. I'm just building my credit because it took that long to understand. Like, boy, you need credit, but and that's why the next book is called Hustler to Entrepreneur. I don't even know when that's gonna happen. I don't know if that's a working title, but that's what it is because you go into something with a hustle mindset, but that's not being an entrepreneur. It will only take you so far, and you can look at it with Jay, right? Jay is the epitome of that, right? That joker came in there with a hustler mindset, but when he became an entrepreneur, he $1 billion boy. You feel me? Because everything changed. Financial literacy, how you do stuff and how you move. And I think that's one of the main reasons Dame couldn't go where Jay was going. You know, he just couldn't go. And so, and no shot, I love Dame, no shot to Dame. But like, I realized that, bro, hustle and entrepreneur, something got to change. You got to start understanding financial literacy. Like where, and so it's, where do I put my money, right? So anyway, you get to the compound. The compound is amazing. I'm glad we did the compound because sometimes I have these things like, man, should we have moved to the big compound? Hey, did you make it over to that space?
I never made it over there. I never even got to go. And I remember because when I came, you were talking about that was the transition that you were about to make. You know,
that's listen, bro. This spot was everything, bro. Like it had 9 offices. It had a warehouse. It had a showroom. It had a kitchen. It was insane. It was insane. They had a snack. They had an official snack room. You know what I'm saying? Had the classroom. It was dope. And I'm glad I got to experience it. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it was a little premature. Is my ambition. But because I believe that God was trying to pivot me before that happened. And it's the pivot because of my ambition to grow, right? Because I didn't want to stay. I'm like, yo, I see this mug, let's go. Because again, visionary. The problem sometimes with being a visionary is, boy, you might execute before the time. You feel understanding the timing. And so October, November last year, I kind of knew I needed to do something. I knew something was changing. I just didn't understand it. I didn't know what it was. And so me, God had to do these dramatic things, bro. And so, like, you know, at this time, you know, we hadn't did the year before. We were almost right at a mill. You know what I'm saying? We was close to a mill. Like, it was just growing, right? So, again, when money is flowing through and it's like, shut this down, that sounds insane. Like, it sounds insane. It sounds crazy. But bro, October, November, December, January, February, we brought on this new marketing company, and I was like, "Yo, I'm bringing on this marketing company. We about to," because I talked to a good friend of mine. He's like, "Yo, go with this mug." You know what I'm saying? I remember he said it like this: "He's not gonna make a meal." You know what I'm saying? That's how he told me. So it was like, "All right, we about to kill this mug, bro." It was like God was blocking it because He was trying to get me to see something, and I was, man, I knew it, and that's where Trust God, Trust the Process T-shirt came from, because it was like, this is from a real place. This is something that's happening. This is not me not being innovative enough. this is not me not going hard enough. This is not that. You know what I'm saying? Because at this time, bro, we about to get ready to launch Unapologetic Active. We doing official commercial. Well, we got Nike commercials. No, we got commercials for Unapologetic Active that can go against Nike right now. Like it's that level, right? So it wasn't that. And I knew that because when I sat back and started to look at the whole thing, and again, my wife right there, like, it's time for a pivot. You know what I'm saying? She just always been sensitive to what was going on. She's always been sensitive to God. You know what I'm saying? Kind of reminds me of Mary and Martha, right? So she's sensitive to God. I'm the grinder. I'm up working, you know? And so once I got it, it was like, I got to shut the compound down. I don't know what this means. I don't know. I just don't know, you know what I'm saying? But I got to shut it down. And that's what I did. I shut it down. And bro, it's just this overwhelming feeling that God's like, I'm going to be faithful to you. Don't worry about nothing. Work on this book. Slow your life completely down. Read The Resistance of Hurry. Have you ever heard that book? Read that book? Oh my God. Bro. Damn. Like, listen, that book hit me so hard. It was The Ruthlessness of Hurry. So I read that book and David Green, Get It, Give It All Away, which is the own Hobby Lobby. And God was trying to put two things in me. I need you to slow completely down so I can show you how I'm pivoting you right now. And I want you to understand going forward that anything that you do, the cornerstone of it is given. And I couldn't, it didn't make sense to me why I was reading the things that I was reading and processing it. And it's funny, bro. I just, I didn't print it out, but I wrote it up last night, and I have this. It's kind of like this structure of how everything goes, right? And now at the top is giving first, whatever it is, whoever I decide to give to in whatever capacity, right? It's giving first, and then it's paying myself second, right? Because we skipped that. Richest Man in Babylon taught me that 4 years ago. It took me a long time to put that principle into place, but pay yourself. Then everything else falls under that, right? Which is your bills, your everything. What happens is, we think about this here, bro. Go 20 years back right now. If you would have paid yourself 10% first. Everything that you did, like how they said in The Richest Man in Babylon, your babies would have had babies. Your babies would have had babies. Because everything you would have invested in would have a return in some type of capacity, right? So you're not in to invest what you can. You invest in first. Then you're paying the bills. Because what happened then too, it started to change your mindset. And you be like, oh, I might not need to buy this right now. Because this doesn't fit into my percentage of what I want to pay out for my bills. Because now you're giving and you paying yourself first is at the top of your joint. Again, that's what's important about this pivot. This pivot is the beginning of the next chapter of the God Bless the Entrepreneur series. This move to LA, all of this. It's so much in this, bro. And I'm actually living it out now. It's amazing. It amazes me every single day what God been trying to show me. So now, you know, a couple of years ago, God gave me the outline. So it was like, okay, if I ever write a book, it was just like this. If I ever write a book, here's the outline of the things that I want to talk about. I put that mother away somewhere. Because I was like, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to write a book. You know what I'm saying? I come back to that mug. And so at this time, the situation with my eyes is going on. So I started doing audio recording. Now, this is the benefit of having Rep the King Mag. What did I have when I had Rep the King Mag, right? At the time I did Rep the King Mag, boy, I probably only read 2 books in my life for real. Like for real. Like that sounds insane. And I'm talking about Lion Witch in the Wardrobe or something crazy like that. It wasn't nothing real, right? And so I started, you know, I took the Henry Ford approach where I got a team together. I brought on writers and editors and experts in their spaces. So one of those writers was Olivia Shaw. And so I started to transcribe my book through audio because that's the kind of learner I am, right? And so here I am. Okay, chapter 1, rules, what rules? Now I'm like, yo, I remember this time. And that's how I started to record my book. And she transcribed the book for me. And that's how I ran through my entire book, bro. And this whole time, from the time I shut the compound down to the time I get ready to leave Atlanta, is I'm spending time with God every single day. I'm writing my book. And then, you know, God talking about speaking. I'm like, what? First of all, I'm trying to figure out the book thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get this part either, right? But it's crazy because, you know, this came the other day, right? I'm like, yo, the manifestation of what God told me is in front of me. Like, And I started to realize, it's like, yo, I've seen this happen time and time again. And this was crazy, bro. I seen myself speaking and I didn't see it. And I saw it. And sometimes it takes for me to see it. Once I saw it, I'm like, oh, I got it. Like, okay. And I don't even know how this looked, right? And so I just started talking to people who I know who speak for real, right? I hear my boy Jay. Jay used to own Straight and Narrow. And, you know, homeless people start coming into the shop. Next thing you know, Jay preaching. Jay done closed down the shop and started preaching. So I asked him, bro, that wasn't your lane. Like, how do you do that? He said, bro, I just go up there and be honest. And he said technique and stuff like that comes later. But he said, I just go up there and be honest. He said, I always go scared. You feel me? And I was like, that's exactly what I'm going to do, bro. I'm going to go scared. And so, you know, I started Jeremy Anderson course and I'm going through and Jeremy just giving me these nuggets, like, right, stuff you don't even think about. Now, the branding stuff, I'm like, yeah, okay, I know that, right? I got that. But some of the other little tidbit stuff, little small stuff, like he's been doing it 10 years, bro. He has skin in the game. You feel me? And so he's telling you these little things that I'm pretty sure people miss, but I'm an entrepreneur. So I know those very little things that people be skipping over. I was like, yo, stay right there. Super important. That boy said, I'm gonna give you one of it. He said, that boy said, every time you go, so say for instance, right? I never go outside without these cards, right? So I'm about to go walking after this interview. So these cards got like the God Bless Entrepreneur joint and my scan code on the back, right? So basically said, for every event you do, you create one of these. So this probably will always stay the same. This might change, right? And you print it out. So the event you do, that's what you're going, man. You know, it might have something like, man, thank y'all for allowing me to come speak to this school today. You might have that school on there. You feel what I'm saying? With your information, boom, it makes it personal. It makes it, oh, he came here this day. And I was like, bro, that little tidbit of information, now it's kind of like, now I got the information, now it's time to execute. So that's where I'm at. And it was so funny. Guess what my first speaking gig is at?
Where?
Morehouse.
Wow.
Bro, God is amazing. And it's funny that just came from almost a relationship when I used to do Z180. Crazy, bro. Crazy. How God just does things. You feel me? And this was like, it's just, yeah, it's just, and now it's just like, that's the season I'm in. And so LA, let me tell you how crazy this is. LA comes up on Mother's Day, bro. This comes up, this not long ago. This wasn't this big old plan or nothing like that. No, bro. It was like, I need to be in California. It was like, oh, okay, this is going crazy. Now, again, my wife is the structure one. Listen, I'm like, man, I'm like, yo, everything for sale. I put this on Facebook. Now, this was funny. When we shut down the compound, remember how many officers I told you the compound had, right?
Right.
House, bro. This mug is humongous, bro. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We had like 8 TVs in that mug. Now I'm talking 65 inches. So when you came on, that mug commercials playing, like, you feel what I'm saying? Like, you got that in your face experience. And so we had all kind of stuff, bro. Anything you could think of, it was in that building. And I had a game room. So I had all of, you know, Miss Pac-Man, Star Wars, Pac-Man, NBA Jams, Mortal Kombat. I had everything. Like, it was a full-blown experience. If you was an entrepreneur and you walked in that building, you would not, you couldn't leave and not be motivated. It was impossible. For photography, we had like the best equipment. We had all of that. And so all this in like all these different storages right now, right? So I said, everything for sale. I had 5 iMacs, 4 or 5 iMacs. I had so much stuff. And it was funny. So all of that stuff, bro. Like, we sold all of that stuff. Next thing you know, we here in LA. And bro, I still probably got like $100,000 worth of merch sitting in storage in Atlanta. Like right now. You know what I'm saying? Just worth of merch. And so when I say we shut it down, the pivot. Just obedience, bro. Obedience. Because anytime that I have been, every time that I have been obedient to where God was taking me at, he's just always been faithful. Because I got to realize that He's the author and the finisher, not me. And
Mm-hmm.
so he's a shepherd, and he's just trying to lead me to where that he wants me to go. And then it comes back again to like you focus on one thing and then expound.
Yeah.
And basically he was trying to let me know that God Bless the Entrepreneur was the banner. You was putting it down here. I needed it to be up here. Now everything will flow down from that. The brands and all that stuff is established. I don't have to reestablish that. I don't have to do any of those things.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I heard it the other day, and it's funny. Mike Todd said it, and it was crazy. It was like David had many talents. He just knew when to use each one.
Mm-hmm.
He just knew to use each one. And when you start thinking about the story of David, you know what I'm saying? Like the first time you seen David on the scene, he was bringing food, bro. Like he was bringing food. And this man wound up killing, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like the dude was dropping off food, bro.
Just bringing the lunch.
Yeah. Who eats? That's what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? Like even with Saul, what he did, played the harp. You feel what I'm saying? Like he had all his talent, but he knew when to use each one, bro. And it's kind of like it helped me for a person with many talents, many things that God gave me, because that was one of my biggest struggles. When do I use this, God? Mm. Because he's not gonna let it go to waste.
Right.
But when do you use it? You feel what I'm saying? Because even with the music, because I got the tour and stuff, I realized he didn't take that away from me. He let me be a part of it. Like I'm everybody who's on the top of their game. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. That's amazing. He still didn't take it away from me. I got to be a part of it. I was in every, you know what I'm saying? Every night, bro. Like I'm a part of it every night. Like this is insane. And so anyway, that's kind of what lead us to here. And it's kind of like, man, I don't even go speak to November, you know what I'm saying? Unless something come up earlier with schools. But I had to come here. I had to research the schools, get my pitch letter together, get my manager. Like it's really starting fresh. But the thing about it is, bro, it's crazy because even when I was researching on how to properly put out a book, okay, Henry, how do you get everything that you need to put this book out, but also be you at the same time? You feel me? And I was like, I'm gonna take my time. I'm gonna put this book together. I'm gonna use the best people that actually, you know, like the company that did it, bro. Their main thing is the binding, right? Like they for real about that, which means when you pick up this book 10 years from now, this bind, it still should be good. That's what I want, right? And so I didn't worry so much about the tidbits on how to be the best author. I can't be the best author on the first book. It's a no-brainer. I'm not. That gets better with consistency, right? That get better as I go. But I can give you the wow experience on other things. You feel what I'm saying? Other authors not doing. So that's why, you know, if you go to the website, you got an audio joint where it's a regular audio like you would catch on Audible. But when we come to Audible, you know, you're getting the Audible experience with music, something like what Will Smith did. You know, that's what you're getting. So you're going to get two different things. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm okay, shoot, we did that. All right. How many authors are putting out workbooks on their first book? Not many. Let's do a workbook, right? And I got other little things that I'm going to add to it. So like when you get your package, like you're getting a dope package. You feel what I'm saying? And so, and even when, you know, so like even the packaging the other day, I had to have them go back because it's bubble wrap. So I want that experience. I want you to get this bubble wrap. I want it to come in this mug. I want buttons in that mug. I want everything in that joint. So when you open it up, I understand branding. I understand, you know, what you want in your house. I want an affirmation magnet on your refrigerator that reminds you something about entrepreneurship every day. It's just the little things. You feel what I'm saying? It's the little things. And so it's like, okay, now it's not. And one other thing I would say, somebody told me this and I kind of kicked it off. It was like, bro, you need to be the face of your brand. I was like, I like being behind the scenes. Because honestly, if you go back, you will rarely ever see me on Unapologetic, which was kind of dope to me. It was kind of like you didn't know who was behind Unapologetic, you know what I'm saying? Unless you knew me. But if you were just a regular person and you didn't meet me and you learned Unapologetic, you didn't know me, you know what I'm saying? But I was like, yeah, when I go back, it's going to be a little different. You feel what I'm saying? Everything's going to be different. I'm kind of hesitating to say this, but it's kind of like the way we're coming back. It's not like I'm ever selling you anything again. even though you're going to be able to buy, but I'm not telling you anything again. Like, it's going to be more of a movement than it's going to be a movement. It's fresh, but it's going to be a movement, bro. And it's just going to continue, but it's just going to continue in an entire different way, you know?
So I want to be respectful of your time because you've been generous. You're talking about giving away, and you've given us, almost an hour and a half of value in your story. First of all, I want to thank you for sharing with us so much of what you've done, right? You've given us a behind the scenes peek, and not just on what you've done, but on what you're doing. And I love it because I love the depth, the detail, and just the way you're thinking about even releasing this book in a whole new, fresh way. So I'm super excited for it. Tell people where they can find you now, how they can connect with you, how they can learn more about the book, pick up the book, and get their whole God Bless the Entrepreneur experience as you're breaking it out. Let them know how they can connect with you.
So you can go to henrycmurphy.com, HENRYC Murphy.com, and everything is there now. So that was one thing I did during this season was rebuild the website to where, like, when you go there, you get everything. You get all the brands, all the connections to my social media. You get connected to the book, you get connected to the podcast. Everything is in one place. You know what I'm saying? Consultant, like, everything's there. You know what I mean? So we wanted to build this kind of a hub. And it's funny, I did my research on that too. Like, I'm looking at everybody, like, what Jay doing, what Mark Cuban doing, like, what are these guys doing who, they're light years ahead of me right now, but what can I take that they're doing now, make it my own? And I go to it often to be like, okay, I love this. I love kind of what we put together. And Larissa and I, we've been working together since MySpace, bro. Wow. Like, it's MySpace. We go back that far. And so when we get together and put a project together, it's like, okay, I like this. I like what we've done with it. You know what I mean? So henrycmurphy.com, man. You can get plugged into everything, man. And I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you having me on. I love talking about entrepreneurship. It's just my passion,
we can see the passion. It shows in what you're building and how you're serving people and putting it out to the world. So I'm really, really grateful to have you here, man, on Power Lunch. It's been great.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. I want to thank all of you who stopped by to watch for a second, for the whole hour. We're just really excited. And as always, I want to bring you more quality interviews. Stay tuned. If you haven't yet, if you're watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Make sure that you're following us on Facebook or LinkedIn, wherever the case may be. We're going to keep bringing you more great content, more about Henry Murphy. Henry, we probably have to have you come back and talk some more about some lessons that you've learned and kind of break down some of those things as well.
I would love to.
Perfect. Once again, it's Frederick Douglass Bussey. This has been Power Lunch. Ever forward.